Socialism has been attempted. The redistribution of wealth has been attempted multiple times over 200 years. It failed every single time.
We're getting redistribution up these days. That's what people are complaining about. We have super inequality now.
Listen, there's always been inequality.
Which rivals the pharaohs.
Now, wait a second. There's always been inequality. And I argue to you that everybody that tries this will get to the same place as Cuba, North Korea.
And what about China? Right. People have been saying to me for decades, what country is trying your approach? I've had me say that I can't nominate one. Now I can nominate China. And China's been far more effective at dragging people out of poverty. And it's also whipping America's industrial ass. China doesn't have masses of homeless people on the streets of its city. And I lived in a fourth tier city for some time, only 4 million people, quite small by Chinese standards. There's a high quality of life at the average standard of living.
I agree that people are...
大家好，今天要分享一段访谈节选。本期节目一共有3位参与者，主持人皮尔斯、摩根，还有2位观点完全对立的嘉宾。投资人凯文使奥利里与经济学家史蒂夫指基恩整场辩论冲突感十足，三人围绕贫富分化、财富税、中美发展差异、人工智能、未来地缘博弈等诸多议题展开深度探讨。一位是深耕全球投资，常年参与美国政策讨论的商界大佬，一位是实地到访过中国，擅长剖析西方经济弊病的学院派教授，再加上主持人居中引导发问，三方视角各不相同，对财富分配、国家发展道路、科技就业前景的看法碰撞激烈。接下来，我们就一起来看这场充满交锋的深度对话。
Let me turn to an impact of this war, which is obviously the economy, but also cost of living for people. There are many people in America really struggling. There are many people in the UK really struggling. And I had a sort of populist economist called Gary Stevenson on the show last week, who's got a new film out. He's been pretty heavily criticised for it. But I want to play a clip from that and then just talk to you about this concept which he is very strong about, which is about a wealth tax.
Listen, I know that if we don't deal with growing inequality, then ordinary British people will fall into further and further desperate poverty. And I know that's going to happen. And I see it happening, and they see it happening. I don't want it to happen. I come out here, I tell them, if you don't want your kids to be poor, you need to deal with this growing inequality. The only way to deal with that is growing taxation.
Now, Steve, let me start with you there. What is your view of a wealth tax?
I'm in favour of redistribution from the wealthy to the poor. So I'm on the same side as Gary when it comes to that front. My problem comes down to, will a wealth tax actually work? And is it a problem of wealth that's causing the issues we're having? It certainly is a contributing factor, but a major part of this is, and particularly looking at the Californian bill, which is where I made my comments earlier this week. That Californian bill is saying we must increase state tax because of government funding cutbacks by the federal government. Now, in fact, it's the federal government cutbacks that I think are the mistake. And you don't need to balance the government's books. This is all a case of people applying household accounting to government finances, and it's completely and absolutely wrong in accounting to do that. And this is what's causing a lot of the angst we're seeing around the world, because when you cut back spending, what do you cut back spending on? Health, services, education and welfare. You don't cut it back on the military-industrial complex. We're getting a case here about devoting 20% of the government's money to the military-industrial complex. It gets far too much already. So I agree with Gary's sentiments. I don't think he's got the right mechanism to do it. We do need to reduce the wealth inequality, and we do need to provide the welfare services we used to provide 50 years ago, when we had far less industrial power, industrial wealth. We gave people welfare. We had health and education, which was worthwhile. That's what's being destroyed. And this is where a lot of the anger is coming at the ruling class in America now and the ruling class here in the UK.
I mean, Kevin, it's also true the populations of the United States and the UK were massively smaller than they are now. I mean, one of the problems we have, for example, in the UK with the National Health Service is when it was created for a population of 50 million people. We're now 70 million people. And it's still the same system. It's creaking at the seams because we've had so many people come into the country, putting extra pressure on it. But specific to this concept of a wealth tax, the idea is becoming increasingly popular with the public. Roughly 70%, 75% of Brits are in favour of it. 62% of Americans say billionaires are taxed too little. And there's no doubt, you've got a moment in time here where you have the first trillionaire in Elon Musk, and yet you have millions of people who can't afford to feed their children in both our countries. So what's the solution to that?
So both of us, or all of us, all three of us on this narrative, remember the song Tax Man by the Beatles in the 60s.
Yeah.
And the Beatles, like everybody else that was making money, didn't want to get taxed at 98%, so they moved to the south of France. Then France tried it in the 80s. They tried socialism. Didn't work. People left and moved to Switzerland and other countries. It's been tried everywhere. Socialism has been attempted. The redistribution of wealth has been attempted multiple times over 200 years. It failed every single time.
We're getting
And the
redistribution
reason it
up
failed,
these days. That's what
Well,
people are
let me
complaining
finish
about. We
my
have
thought.
super
The reason
inequality now.
Listen, there's
according to
always
Piketty, on
been
a scale which
inequality.
rivals the pharaohs.
Now, wait a second. There's always been inequality, but when you talk about an extreme like a trillionaire, okay, how many jobs has Elon created? How many billions in taxes has he already paid? How many new technologies did he develop without government assistance initially? How much risk did he take when SpaceX was public?
I'm all for people being rewarded
and
for
failed in
taking risk. I'm not
2008. And I argue to you that everybody that tries this will get to the same place as Cuba, North Korea.
And what about China?
Russia?
Okay, this is the elephant in the room we finally have. People have been saying to me for decades, what country is trying your approach? I've had me say that I can't nominate one. Now I can nominate China. And China's been far more effective at dragging people out of poverty. And it's also whipping America's industrial ass. Now, this is something which you're going to tell me China's communist, or rather capitalist. That'll be good fun. It's the one country which is focused upon redistribution, raising the poor up, and extending the services the vast majority of the public achieve. You might not know of you probably know of John Kenneth Galbraith. One of his most famous comments was to talk about America being characterized by private affluence and public squalor. And that really is the state of America. China's gone the opposite direction. It wants public affluence as well as private affluence. It showed the combination works. Now, that is completely against the narrative you're giving.
Kevin?
No, I don't agree. I think you brought up a very good point, though. There is only one large adversary to rival the success of the U.S. economy for 250 years with all of its faults. It's still the only country on earth where people will risk their lives drowning under barbed wire in a river to get into. The American dream is the primary export of the country. I don't see a lot of people
I'm not going to
begging
call them
to
Bob.
live
Why do I
in
call them to
China.
get out of America these days? And when the
Well,
orange man is in,
that's a
it's the
cute
last place
narrative,
I
but
want to
it's
go, and I'm not
250
alone.
years of success. There's never been an economy as successful as the U.S., and it's still the number one economy. If you gave me a choice, do I want to go live in China? I have no problem with the Chinese people. The government, I have a huge problem with. They are the adversary. And what's going to come of this is right now it doesn't look like it, but I guarantee you in 20 years, the Canadian economy that has everything U.S. needs is going to merge with the U.S. economy, and for only one reason, so they can spend 5% of GDP telling the Chinese, don't mess with us. That's where we're going. It's two different thoughts about how a human lives.
Yeah,
Freedom
and I
of
think China's
speech
been far more
versus
successful than America
communism.
has for the vast majority of its population. Chinese aren't the ones who are demonstrating against immigration laws like America's doing at the moment. China doesn't have masses of homeless people on the streets of its city. I've walked through Chinese and American cities, and I tell you which ones I find more comfortable. It's the Chinese, because I don't have to step over a homeless person every 5 metres. Now, that happens in London these days. It certainly happens in San Francisco. There is more discomfort with the political system in America amongst Americans than you'll find amongst the Chinese.
Well, I can't wait to see your home in Shanghai. That sounds great.
Well, come and visit.
Shanghai is Shanghai is an amazing city.
It is,
actually.
yeah.
I did a documentary on Shanghai.
Yeah.
I mean, it is an incredible place to go.
And I've been I lived in a fourth tier city for some time, only 4 million people, quite small by Chinese standards. And I spent about a month or two playing tennis with people there, going to have meals at local Chinese restaurants. There's a high quality of life at the average standard of living.
I agree the people are fantastic.
America has
but that
extremely
government
wealthy
policy,
people
world
and extremely
domination.
poor. And this,
I don't want my kids living under Chinese rule
well,
anywhere
your
in the
kids
world.
can stay
That's
where
what
they are,
want.
but I think a lot of kids in China are enjoying growing in China right now. And conversations I have with ordinary Chinese people of quite a wide range of lifestyles.
I love
see
these
they don't have the
anecdotal-
adversarial attitude toward the government that you have.
Look,
America
I
seems
like
to live
these
in a
anecdotal
Hollywood
stories,
script
but I have a
version
few
of the world
myself.
rather than where it actually is.
I teach these kids at Harvard, okay? Chinese
No wonder they're
nationals,
making
yes,
mistakes in warfare.
there's still some of them that get into North American institutions. They do not want to go home. They want to get an American passport, start an American business, enjoy the American dream, bring their parents
And
over.
that's why America's charging $100,000
I got
for
100 of
HP
them.
visas now, is it? That's really a way to encourage people to come
Well,
to
either
us. Thank you.
Chinese rule or U.S. policies of freedom of speech and democracy.
I think those cultural challenges are much greater for America, which has still got the winner-take-all attitude. And if you eliminate jobs, well, tough luck for the person who loses their job. To go to the stage where you actually start protecting their capacity to stay alive, I think is a far, far bigger shift for America than it is for China.
看完整场完整访谈，不只是两位嘉宾激烈对峙的观点，值得细细拆解。主持人皮尔斯在中间穿插提问，不断放大双方矛盾的引导方式，也让这场辩论的冲突感和思考价值拉满。我们先分别理清两位嘉宾的底层逻辑，再结合主持人的串联视角，把整场对话的核心分歧、隐藏的深层问题全部梳理清楚。先说凯文斯奥利里，他作为白手起家、深耕北美的顶级投资人，所有观点都建立在自由资本、企业家本位的逻辑之上。他始终认定200多年里全球所有财富再分配、高额财富税的尝试全部走向失败。拿法国征收重税导致富人外流，历史上高税率逼走产业举例，认为过度向富人征税会打击创新、驱赶资本，最终损害普通人就业。看待中美两国时，他更看重制度层面的差异，坚持美式言论自由、竞争体系是无可替代的，还提出未来依托 AI 高精度弹药、低成本无人机的软化打击新型作战思路，觉得依靠技术精准施压就能达成地缘目的，同时预判太空、新能源会诞生海量高薪工作， AI 只会成为工具，不会彻底淘汰人类岗位。但这套视角有明显局限，他长期站在资本受益者的立场，对欧美底层民生困境、社会撕裂问题很少深入剖析，看待他国发展也带着天然的对立滤镜。而史蒂夫·楚基恩作为深耕宏观经济、多次精准预判经济危机的学院派学者，视角完全站在社会均衡、民生保障一侧，他一针见血点出现代欧美体系的核心漏洞。各国政府习惯性用家庭收支逻辑管理国家财政，持续削减医疗、教育、公共福利预算，却把近20%财政资金投入军工产业，贫富差距持续拉大才是当下社会矛盾的根源。他并不全盘否定企业家创造价值，但认为不加约束的极端贫富分化会摧毁整个社会稳定。财富再分配不是走极端路线，而是调节社会失衡的必要手段。同时，史蒂夫有实地走访中国的亲身经历，去过一线城市，也到访人口仅400万的4线小城，亲眼见证完整工业化、全面脱贫，城市基础民生保障到位，街上不存在大规模流浪人群。由此提出一个颠覆西方传统认知的结论：现代化不是只有美国一条路，兼顾私人富裕与公共福利的发展模式，同样可以实现高速增长。针对凯文畅想的 AI 战争，他直接指出，这种定点摧毁民用设施的行为属于战争罪行。伊朗完全有对等反制手段，中东各国赖以生存的海水淡化设施一旦遇袭，会引发全域人道主义灾难。凯文设想的单边施压方案根本无法长久稳定。在 AI 就业问题上，史蒂夫也更加悲观。律师助理、金融基层这类职业会被 AI 直接替代，普通人失去职业上升的基础台阶。西方赢家通吃的体系很难消化大量失业人群，而中国通过调整工时、老年教育、灵活退休等方式缓冲就业冲击，给出了不同解决思路。整场辩论里还有一处难得的共识，三人都认同当下 Z 世代普遍存在超前透支消费的问题。 凯文直白建议自带简餐，减少无用开销。史蒂夫也认同年轻人需要贴近现实，建立务实的生活观念，这也是整场激烈争论里少有的统一看法。除此之外，节目还顺带聊到美伊外交备忘录的隐患、能源波动推高全球物价、特朗普竞选阶段的民生补贴政策等现实议题，每一个话题都紧扣当下全球经济与地缘现状。皮尔斯作为中立主持人，没有偏向任意一方，他不断抛出尖锐问题，比如直接追问凯文，为什么特朗普从不公开提出他这套 AI 打击战略，又让两人围绕中国发展，财富税反复辩驳，刻意放大两种完全不同的发展观，让观众能清晰看见两种思维的优缺点。凯文代表资本精英视角，看重创新与竞争，但忽视公平。史蒂夫代表公共经济视角，重视民生均衡，却也没有完全否定市场创造财富的价值。两种观点不存在绝对对错，只是各自的站位、人生经历、观察样本完全不同。更值得我们深思的是，这场对话延伸出的深层命题，过去西方主流理论长期固化现代化等于西式制度的单一结论，而中国几十年发展实践打破了这个固有认知，两种发展道路各有优势，也各自存在亟待解决的难题。美国面临贫富撕裂、城市流浪人口、产业空心化，中国需要持续完善创新激励，平衡政府调控与市场活力。没有完美的发展模板，每个国家都要结合自身国情，寻找适配的平衡方式。同时 AI 新型数字化战争、全球贫富分化这些问题已经不再是遥远的理论讨论，而是未来几十年所有人都要面对的现实挑战。这场辩论把不同立场的思考摆在台面上，能帮我们跳出单一信息茧房，更客观地看待全球各类议题。当然，这场访谈也有明显不足，部分话题只是点到为止，比如新型战争的人道主义代价、IE 失业的完整配套保障方案，双方都没有展开充分论证，很多观点停留在表层预判，缺少长期落地的政策推演，但不妨碍它成为一场极具参考价值的思想碰撞。好了，本期视频到这里就全部结束了。如果你看完有不一样的思考，欢迎在评论区理性交流。觉得内容有收获，可以点赞支持。咱们下期继续分享优质深度访谈内容。